I graduated college last week, and as a gift to myself, I wanted to get myself something nice and something I've been wanting for a very, very long time. And today, it finally came in the mail. This is the Analogue Pocket. Just by looking at it, you might think it's a Game Boy, and you'd be right. But it's not just any Game Boy. This was a $400 Game Boy. And you might be thinking to yourself, why did I spend $400 on a Game Boy? And first of all, that's an intrusive question. But second of all, this thing has a ton of quality of life features that I've only seen in this product. I'm gonna let you know right off the bat, this isn't gonna be one of those should you buy videos, because although I love this thing and I think it's wonderful, this is clearly meant for an extremely niche audience. Do you have a bunch of physical Game Boy games lying around that you wanna play in really good quality? No? Why would you buy this? But if you're like me and you do have a bunch of Game Boy games lying around and you want to play them in really good quality and you value the same things that I value in this product, then hey, maybe you should. If you can find it for retail, that is. I would never pay $400 alone for this product. They restock it pretty well, but don't buy one of the scalpers. I said in my last video that I don't really like Game Boy games, and I honestly believe that's because the hardware you play them on usually kinda sucks. Let's just compare some of the screens I have on the Game Boys. This is the Game Boy Advance. It didn't have a backlight, it feels good in the hands, but man, this is just miserable to play on. This is a GBA SP001. This does have a backlight, however, it's not fantastic, and it doesn't really feel very comfortable in my big hands. And then this is my GBA SP101. Much better screen, but it has the same form factor as the previous one. And this is the Analogue Pocket. Screen size alone, I think it's worth it. But it's also much larger than these other units, and it feels really, really good in my hands. Outside of the obvious, you can change the brightness level of the screen, you can put on different Game Boy filters from the older units, and you just have so much freedom with what you can do with this machine. You can do save states, you can load up ROMs, it has a catalog of all the games you've played on it and when you played them, and it has all of today's luxuries like the USB-C charging and a micro SD card slot. You might be thinking to yourself, well, this is nice and all, but $400 doesn't really feel worth it. And I would agree, because I also got this. Being able to play Game Boy games on my TV is something I've always wanted to do, but with every option you kind of have right now, it's almost like a monkey's paw. Sure, you can play Game Boy games on the Super Game Boy on the Super Nintendo, but man, this filter stuff is awful. For me personally, it is super distracting looking at all of this. Yeah, you can opt for no filter, but when it looks like this, it's almost as bad as the filter. And I've also found personally that this hardware is super finicky because it's so old. There's also the Game Boy Player, which is a little bit better, but oh my god, these are so expensive. Trying to find the Game Boy Player disc is just expensive as the Analogue Pocket. Yeah, you can also play Game Boy Advance games on it, but it still has these awful filters on the screen. With the Analog dock, it is finally a viable and perfect way to play your physical Game Boy games on your TV. My definition of perfect in this scenario is minimalist. I really only want to see the game, and man does that game look good. It doesn't stretch the game out to fill the aspect ratio, although you can do that if you wanted to. It just plays the game in exceptional visual and audio quality. You can also hook up a bunch of different Bluetooth and wired controllers from the DualSense all the way to the Switch Pro controller. I've been fiddling around with this all week. I played through Kirby's Dream Land 1 and 2, and I love it. I've had no misinputs, I've had zero graphical or visual mistakes. I am very, very happy with this product, and honestly, I just wanted to share my excitement with you. I also want to be able to write this off on my taxes because, oh my god, I spent $400 on this. And you don't seem to